Hey, Leslie, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not bad. Can you talk a little more about what goes into how successful you guys have been against the quarterback sneak? I don't know how X and O related you can talk about there. It feels like just a scrum and best will wins. And if that's your answer, that's fine. But I'm curious about what's been working at the bottom of those piles for you guys the last couple of weeks.
Man, I tell you, that is, as you can imagine, one of the hardest plays to defend. Is only a yard, and any kind of push can equate to a first down, or in some cases a touchdown. So it's a hard play to defend. And the team we played on Sunday, they were really one of the best, if not the best, in the league at quarterback sneaking and getting the first down. So I don't know if there's any secret to it. You're talking to the guys about, you're talking to them about get off, you're talking about knocking the guy in front of them back. And that's what we try to emphasize. And fortunately for us, there have been times where it worked out for us. It's been really good. And yesterday was a great example of it. When we watched Cleveland on tape, we kept saying success, success, success. Like almost 90% of the time they got the first down. So for us to go back to back and deny them, kudos to our guys.
Jordan Phillips said yesterday he thinks that play is a play where offenses might kind of take it off a little bit because it's a play that they usually have success on, but B, I don't know how many people really need to do work beyond even the interior three offensive linemen. Is that a spot where an aware defense or maybe, a defensive line like you guys have where there's a lot of guys with attitude and fight can take advantage in that spot?
Oh, no doubt. If there's a guy on that offensive line that's going to take a play off because, as you mentioned, it's only really the interior guys that need to get the push for the quarterback. Well, if you have a group on the other side where every guy is fighting and scratching and has an attitude that we're not going to let you get this 1 yard or inches, you have a chance. And fortunately, we have some guys who have that fight and that grit, who do everything they can to keep a team from getting that inch or getting that yard.
Thanks, Leslie. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Coach Frazier, Mookie Harkins, Buffalo Sports 1080. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good. How are you, Mookie?
I'm great. Back to victory Mondays. It's a good deal.
Yes, no doubt about it. No doubt.
Hey, excellent job against Nick Chubb, 14 attempts, 19 carries. But, to piggyback right off of Tad a little bit, those guys with that grit, Big Phil and Shaq Lawson on those back-to-back plays. And, of course, Xavier Rhodes' performance. Care to talk about those three guys?
Yeah, Shaq, Jordan, they've been really good for us all season long. We needed our D-line in the run game yesterday for sure, and our linebackers, our secondary, because Chubb, man, he's arguably the best back in our league. He's really, really good. And so it was great to see them stand up with Jordan and Shaq and the rest of our defensive line and our linebackers did on those 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1. You take your hat off to them. That's a hard deal to be able to stop a team for 1 yard, let alone to do it back to back. And then to be able to get Xavier out there and get him in the mix. He's an accomplished player in our league, been to Pro Bowls. Just great to have him out there to get his feet wet and get an inaugurated count into our defense and game situations. And now we'll see if we can build on it as we go forward.
Absolutely, Coach. And how does Jordan Poyer make you feel at ease when he's out there on the playing field?
Oh, I sure do sleep a whole lot better when he's out there. I tell you that. It's nothing against the guys who had to replace him. They've done everything they can and everything we've asked of them. But Jordan is an experienced player who's had a ton of success in his 6 years here in this system. He's like a captain or a coach out there at the same time. Tremendous leader and a playmaker. That play he made on that deep ball when he really separated the tight end from the ball, those are the type of impact plays that you miss when he's not out there. So it's great for us when he's back on the field.
Absolutely, Coach. Before I go, first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to you on being a finalist for the Black College Hall of Fame, repping our core state there. How much of an honor is it, and what does it mean for you?
Well, I tell you, when they somebody sent me some information on who the finalists were, and I saw my name with some of those other names, some of those names on that list, those are some of my heroes growing up and people that I looked up to. So I'm honored. Beyond honored to see my name on that list, and just very thankful that they see me in that light, and just honored that I would be considered for a prestigious award such as this.
Happy Thanksgiving, Coach. Safe travels and good luck on Thursday.
Thank you.
Hey, Leslie, what has impressed you most about Matt Milano in the season that he's had this year? Yesterday, he was a big factor and a lot of things that went right for the defense.
Yeah, usually that's the case, Matt. When Matt is playing at a high level and on the field for us, that usually means something good's going to happen. He just continues to make plays, and he's been doing that throughout the season. His confidence has grown so much. I mean, he's always been a really good player for us, but I feel like, Matt, this year his confidence is at an all-time high. His assertiveness, his leadership, he's more communicative than he's ever been, and he's just so much more sure of himself, and that's showing in his play. And he's a big play guy, but he's steady at the same time. He stays within the system, but when there's an opportunity to make a play, he usually makes that play.
I know you mentioned carrying over some of the good about stopping the run and stopping Nick Chubb from yesterday into the Lions game. I think you guys held the Browns to under 30 rushing yards in the second half. So what are some ways you can carry that over to a team that you're playing that scored 4 rushing touchdowns in their game yesterday against the Giants?
Yeah, they had a big day running the ball. I think they were over 160 yards rushing. So, big day for them. So we're going to have our hands full to be able to carry over some of the things we did on yesterday into this ball game. But we got to bring that same type of attitude, Matt, and really carry that chip on our shoulder when it comes to the run game. We got to bring that to this ball game as well. And they do other things well, but it starts with being able to defend the run game.
Thanks, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Hey, Leslie. Sticking with Matt Milano, does anything change for him responsibility-wise or the things you ask him to do when Tremaine isn't out there? Nothing against whoever's filling in, but are his responsibilities any different?
We really don't ask him, John, to do any more than what he's always done. It just tends to work out where he finds himself in positions where he needs to make some plays that Tremaine might ordinarily make. It's not that we're asking him to, it's just who he is as an athlete. He's able to take care of his responsibility, but if there's another play to be made, he can make that play because of his athleticism, his understanding of the game, and the instincts that he plays with. So it kind of works out that way. Not that we ask him to do any more than if Tremaine were playing, but because of the instincts he has, he ends up making some plays that, may should have been the Mike linebacker's play.
And I know we joked about it pregame, but what did it mean to you to see so many of the defensive guys wearing those shirts with you on them and kind of honoring you?
I don't know if you remember this, but I was teasing Kevin. Kevin and I were talking about this. Kevin Kearns, one of my media guys. When I saw those shirts, I thought about someone asked me in one of these sessions about Von having jerseys with people's names on them and T-shirts with people's names on them. And they asked me, do you think Von would ever do a shirt for you? And I laughed and I said, why would he ever do a shirt for me? Maybe I would wear a Von Miller shirt, but I don't think I'll ever see a Leslie Frazier shirt. And then when Von showed me that shirt the night before the game, I was like, wow, you talking about humbling. And, and then to see our players wearing that shirt, just very, very humbling and emotional at the same time. But Von, he's special. He's special.
And do you have one?
He gave me one. Yes, I do have one. Yes, and
okay.
I know you want one too, John. So
I do.
We'll work on it.
All right, XL, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good one.
All right.
Hi, Leslie. Curious, real quick on the T-shirt. Did he present that in like a team meeting or how did that go?
Ordinarily, Matt, the night before the game, we'll have a defensive meeting. And maybe that's what he was planning on doing, but we didn't have one because of how late we got in on the night before the game on Saturday night. So actually, I was walking through the lobby of the hotel, and he had a box, and he said, "Coach, come over. I want to show you something." And I said, "Okay." And I saw him opening up the box, and he pulls out the T-shirt and he shows it to me, and really caught me off guard. And I guess he handed them out to the players over the course of the night, and I guess maybe some of them the next day, but we didn't have a meeting that night for anything like that to happen.
Very cool. I think it's been like 4 or 5 weeks now with Tre'Davious back practicing. I'm just curious, seeing him back out there, what that's been like for you, and what kind of progress has he made in terms of, I know there's a lot that goes into coming back from that injury before you even step foot on the practice field, but what's he look like out there, from your vantage point?
Yeah, he seems like he's making great progress. I've shared that with him. He's continuously getting better as he challenges himself each time he's on the field, Matt. And so hopefully this week he'll just keep challenging himself in coverage, whether it's one-on-one or in situations where we have a 7-on-7 drill, whatever it may be, but just pushing himself to see where he is and get a gauge where I am and when it's the right time to pull the trigger to get in the mix to prepare for a game. So I think he's getting real close, and he's been looking pretty good based on what I've seen.
Mm-hmm. And what could that potentially mean? I know you guys have probably thought about it, envisioned it. What does that potentially mean for these young guys, Dane, Christian, and Kyer, once he does eventually get back?
I think it would really mean something positive for each one of them to be able to, just like watching him in practice, they learn a lot and how he prepares, how he handles himself in meetings, how he looks at tape. And so to see him in a game situation to transfer some of the things he's doing in practice to a game, I would think that would really help those guys in their maturation as players because of all the things that Trey has done in his career, in his young career.
Thanks so much, Leslie. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You too. Thanks.
Hey, Leslie, I was curious, you've lived in a lot of cold places, obviously, but have you experienced anything like this past 4 days, or is that a first for you?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I've been in you're right, some cold places. And but I don't know if I've ever experienced anything like what we had over the weekend. So much snow in such a short period of time. And as I was looking out the window at Friday when everything was canceled and we had to do everything on Zoom, just waiting on the snow to lighten up, but it just continued to fall. And I was like, wow. And, by the time Saturday got around, it was just unbelievable. So I don't think I've ever experienced anything quite like this. How
did you get out of your house? What was your experience?
I wish I could show you the video. My wife, she videoed me climbing through the driveway snow, trying to get to where they could pick me up to bring me over to the facility. It was, oh man, it was hard. I found out how bad a shape I'm in trying to climb through the snow to get to the highway to get to the facility. So it was a lot of snow to climb through, but we made it.
Well, glad you made it. That sounds like quite the journey. I was curious, we had talked a lot about how when Kyer and Christian were switching time, so they both got experience in when with situations like this, when Kyer's injured, Christian's ready to go and all of that. What went into the decision to switch Christian and Xavier, have them share time yesterday? Why did you feel like that was the right move for yesterday?
Well, with Kyer being injured, leading into this ball game and being out the previous game, that definitely factored in. And the fact that we wanted to try to take a look at Xavier now and just get a feel for where he is. He's been with us for a while, although he was banged up and really couldn't participate. But now that he's healthy, we wanted to be able to take a look at him. And yesterday was a good time to do that. And we were pleased with some of the things that we saw.
With Christian's development specifically, have you been pleased? Do you think he's moving in the right direction? What have kind of been your impressions? Because he's had more playing time with Kyer injured.
Yeah, it's been good to, see his development over the course of the year. He's made some plays for us. There are some challenges always as a rookie for sure. And it's a week-to-week learning process. But overall, I think we're all pleased with the progress that he's made. And we think he's just going to get better and better as time goes on. And hopefully Kyer can get back on the field and get healthy again and get his foot where it needs to be so he can get back in the mix as well. But we're pleased with the progress that Christian is making.
I'm just curious too, we've talked so much about the quarterbacks and Trey and, there's been so many moving parts at that position specifically. And obviously with everything I think going on with Jordan and Micah at safety, I guess, what is that like for you to kind of, obviously injuries happen every year and all that, but it feels like a lot to that secondary specifically. What is that like to kind of manage all of that and keep it going the way it has?
Elena, the coach speak is say next man up, but it's a challenge. This is the National Football League. So ideally you'd like to have your starters out there all the time. But things happen. We've been hit with the injury bug this year more so than any of the years that I can remember. And but the guys that have had to play, they've stepped up and done a really good job for us. Had some challenges along the way, but for the most part, they've done a good job. But it is for sure challenging not knowing week to week which guy's going to start. And as you are trying to look at practice and trying to determine, who warrants more snaps. We haven't had to do that in the past. We had usually 4 guys that were pretty healthy for the most part, and they were in the lineup week in and week out. That hasn't been the case this year.
Thank you. And I would love to see that video. So I'll ask you guys to get in touch with your wife to kind of track that down.
Yes. No, it's funny for sure.
Hey, Leslie, was it easier getting back into your house then, or is there a follow-up from, getting back? You had to make the same journey too. What was that like?
Oh, Catherine, much easier getting back. They had cleaned the driveway off, way much better. I was so relieved that didn't have to go through that again. So very relieved, much better coming back.
Okay, good to hear. We were all wondering how the snow would affect y'all getting back.
Yeah.
I was wondering, we've talked a few times about Damar Hamlin, just like his strengths as he stepped up. And now that you've had a larger sample size, what have you seen out of him? Is there an area that maybe you've noticed him growing in a bit or anything like that?
Yeah, I think he has steadily made progress. I can remember early on, I'd be on the headsets telling Tremaine, hey, tell Damar to do this, tell Damar to do that. And Jordan doing the same thing. There's so much less of that now, Catherine, because he's more comfortable, more sure of himself and what's expected of him from a look standpoint. Because one of the keys to our success in the secondary in years past has been Mike and Jordan just really making it hard for quarterbacks to determine what we're playing. And so to get Damar comfortable with some of our looks and some of the things we were asking him to do, he's gotten better at that. And the play he made in the ball game where, they called a PI, but that was, to me, he did a really good job of just keeping his poise and trying to get in position to make plays. And we're seeing more and more of that from him. So there's been great growth over the last few weeks.
How do you balance? It sounds like some of that can only happen from time on task, but obviously he was playing behind guys for so long. Are there things he can do to kind of speed up that process, or what has made him take some of those steps?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that can make you speed it up other than playing. And you mentioned that time on task. I think that's what has helped him to improve, and he's improved exponentially. He's grown a lot in his communication, which early on he wasn't saying a word out there, but now he's communicating. He's giving us the checks that we need. He's not just totally reliant on Jordan, which he had to come out of that because Jordan hasn't always been in the lineup. So that kind of forced him to communicate. And as I mentioned, he's much more comfortable in his coverage, whether it's man or zone. So it's been more just gaining experience and then making some plays that has helped his confidence to grow.
Is that kind of a weird thing to coach a guy on like, hi, you just need to talk more? Like, are there ways to do that other than the confidence to get that out of him?
No, that's part of that position. And as coaches, that's something we have to help them with, just the communication part, because in the secondary, so much of what they do and what we do is based on everybody being on the same page, based on the down and distance, the formation that they're seeing. And we ask our safeties, not only our Mike linebacker, but we ask our safeties to communicate some of our checks. So it's something that you have to do in order for us to be successful. And as coaches, we're helping that player to get comfortable in doing that, but eventually he has to do it in a game situation, and Damar has gotten better at that.
Awesome. Thanks, Leslie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.